welcome back to Meet the Expert. I am your host, Casey Pacheco, and I am so happy. You know, I get the best people for you, right? And this today, I did not let you down. We have an awesome, amazing nurse, Giovanna Navarro. She is absolutely amazing on so many different fronts. She has been working as a nurse for many, many years. And recently, she's had experience working with Dr. Joe Dispenza and Ken Honda, some of my favorite authors. But even deeper than that, I got to spend time with Giovanna, and she is the real deal. Beautiful, beautiful person. And you get to know her today. So, welcome, Giovanna. Welcome to Meet the Expert.
Oh my God, Casey, thank you so much for those kind words. You're making me blush already. I'm so happy to be here. Such an honor. Thank you.
Yes. You know, Giovanna, when I think about you, I think about someone who really has faith and belief in themselves and going after what they want and the life that they want to create. So you have worked a lot with neuroscience. What's going on? I can't talk today. Neuroscience, and you really are into this world where neuroscience meets behavioral health, which brings amazing outcomes to humanity. Could you share with our audience a little bit what brought you to this journey? How did you get here?
Oh my gosh, that's such a wonderful question, Casey. And I'll try to keep it short, but I'll tell you, when you're a nurse and you find your groove, you find your team, your department, you feel like such a badass, right? You feel like you have the whole world is going for you. And yes, you have hard days and stuff like that, but you feel like, damn, I'm a nurse, this feels good. But sometimes life will throw curveballs to you. And when I was working in the hospital after 8 years of doing, lots of intensive care and EP and cath lab and being on call and stuff, my body just started to scream at me. I wasn't feeling well. I was having health issues. I wasn't sleeping well. I was having tachycardia, all those things. And I was in my mid-20s. So I was like, what is going on? Right. So I go to the doctor and what they do, right? They just started throwing pills at me like, diuretics for fluid retention, then medication for the tachycardia, medication to sleep. I even took appetite suppressants because I was gaining so much weight, and I thought it was something with that. When in reality, it was just my body screaming at me, right? It was actually overloaded. Well, what did I do? What most of us do. I left the bedside thinking, I'm just going to change jobs. I'm going to go to work from home. This is going to be better. And for a while, it was a little bit better working from home, because at that time I had little kids. But again, that silent stress was still creeping in, that anxiety, the imposter syndrome, all those things. And
Mhm.
my body just shut down. Out of a sudden, I gained like 30 pounds in 3 months. I couldn't sleep. I was anxious for no reason. I felt numb. I would see my toddlers playing in the playground and I was like numb. I could not feel happiness. I couldn't feel anything. And I was so scared that I think the biggest scary moment for me was one day when I heard the ice cream truck pass through the playground when the kids were playing. And I just started bawling for no reason. I could not control the way I was crying. I could not breathe. It was almost like a panic attack. And I told my husband, I think I'm losing my shit. I think I'm going crazy. What's going on with me? And he's like, would you please go to the doctor, right? Because the nurses are stubborn. I didn't want to go to the doctor. And, long story short, they started doing tests for months and months and months. And my PCP was very open-minded. And she's like, I think you're burnt out, but, we need to dig to see what it was. And I was actually diagnosed with an autoimmune disorder. And that shook my world. I was like, what? That cannot be. I was eating healthy. I was working out. I had this work from home. This isn't me. This isn't happening, right? So it took me completely by surprise. And that's when our friend said, I think you have to look into what is causing all this. And she said, do you know of Dr. Joe Dispenza? I'm like, I have no idea who you're talking about. She sent me YouTube videos and I was hooked. The minute I heard science and
Yes.
mind and spirituality, I was like, I was completely glued into his work, right? Because that was what I was looking for. As a nurse, when I was younger, I was always like, yoga, oh please, Tai Chi, oh come on, meditation, that's just for crazy people. That's not for me. But when I heard science and mystic and all stuff, I was completely glued to that, Casey. And that's what really helped me understand, there's so much more to us than just, the bones and the muscles. We're just this whole being. And I saw it when I learned that work and I started to translate it to my patients. I understood also that gap, because nobody wants to feel bad. No one wants to have a bad life. And
Mhm.
you give them like the doctor's recommendations, or you give them the recommendations as a nurse, they still don't do it. So that was kind of like in the back of my mind, like, where's the gap? Like, how can I make this connection to people? And that's when I understood. It's not that people don't want to heal. It's not that people don't want to feel better. It's that they feel trapped, or they don't have the tools, or the stress is too much. Their system is so in overload that even though it's screaming for some kind of peace and ease and joy,
Mhm.
can't get there because their system just doesn't know how to shut down. So, that's why neuroscience was so fascinating to me. And it's what helped me overcome, the burnout. I actually recovered from the autoimmune disorder. My rheumatologist was like, oh my God, you're the first patient that I see like this. Because technically you don't heal, right? You have to take medicine and stuff. Not
Mhm.
once did I have to take a medication. I'm sorry. So it's been like 6 years of me feeling so much better. It
Yes.
wasn't easy though. There were really tough nights, and sometimes I go back to my old self and all those limiting beliefs. But when I remember what I've gone through, the tools that I have, what people have gone through, it's like I got this. I can figure it out even when life feels so overwhelming. Yeah.
Yes, yes, this is wonderful. Now you have a different set of tools, but let's talk about the shift that you made. Not a lot of people may know. Now I know about Dr. Joe Dispenza. I love his work. He does some really deep meditations. What could you tell us a little bit about who Dr. Joe Dispenza for those who do not know or never heard of him?
Yes, of course. So Dr. Joe Dispenza, he's been doing research for the past 30 years about the mind-body connection. He had a very profound experience as well. He had his back was injured, and he was told that he was going to be paralyzed. And that's when he, really started working with his body to actually heal himself. And, he was able to, to overcome all this. And he made a promise to himself that he was going to learn more about how powerful our mind is, and to teach people how to get this. So he started, with the mission of trying to pair like what people that had miracle healings had done. So he started interviewing them, and he started to see a pattern. And that's when he connected all the knowledge, from yogis, from other cultures and stuff. And when he started working on this, and now, fast forward 30 years, he does week-long events where people have a beautiful experience in 8 days to really get to know themselves. They learn how to meditate. They learn how to heal other people, which is very powerful. I've seen so many miracles, people that couldn't see that are seeing, people in wheelchairs that are walking. And it's stuff that you can't deny. Like once you see the truth, you can't go back. So that's why I was so honored when he invited me to become part of his research team, and I became his lead research nurse, So being able to see the front stage of the people learning this, and backstage, all the science, the data collection that we do, working with the University of San Diego to actually collect that data for people that were like me, right? We needed some kind of proof, some facts, some like real medical proof on this. So, now we're publishing more and more documents in the journals of medicine to help people understand that we really have to see ourselves as a whole. We cannot go through life analyzing everything, just going through your mind. You have to get in touch with your heart, with your emotions, with your subconscious beliefs, your subconscious mind, to really understand who you are, what has gotten you here, and most importantly, how to move forward, Casey, because there's lots of beautiful self-help books. There's a lot of inspirational people out there. But what I noticed in all my years, helping people is like, one thing is to have the knowledge, to
Yeah.
maybe understand it intellectually, but how do you apply it to day life? Especially us in healthcare, right? When the system is so chaotic, how do you apply that in the midst of the storm when everything is going down the drain? That's the key. And I think that's what most people have a hard time integrating. Yeah.
And I think that goes really nice into the next question I wanted to ask you, because you yourself, you're an author and you have written a book, Burn Bright, Not Out. And I think that your book is really in that space to help us as healthcare professionals really implement this. Now, question for you, what are some barriers you see us as healthcare professionals facing when it comes to doing things like meditation?
Oh, gosh, there's so much, Casey. That's such a great question. And I'm going to backtrack a little, because I think the first thing is we have to name things for what they are. And, this healthcare system is not working the way it should be. It's broken for us as, the healthcare professionals, and it's broken for patients. And that's the problem, because, it tends to normalize this regulation, and it wants to call it professionalism. It wants to call it resilience, when in reality, it's just that we are bracing for whatever is coming our way. It's such a chaotic environment that when we have a human response to it, right? We are stressed, we're snapping at people, we can't sleep, we're having trouble with our relationships at home, our finances, then we get judged. Like, what is wrong with her? Right. And you have to see that we are in such an environment where we can't control anything in healthcare. And it doesn't matter if you're the bedside or not, Casey. You can be an excellent professional. You can do everything right. But at the end of the day, you can still have an awful day because you cannot control every single staff member. You can't control the outcome of the patient. You can't control how the doctor is going to behave. You can't control the family members. So that does something to you. You know, it stays in your body, and people start questioning, like, what is wrong with me? Am I a good nurse? Is there something wrong with me? Why is my boss like this? But we have to look at the state that people are in, not just the personality. So when people start seeking all these, which is great, you know, how to meditate, how to do all this stuff. Yes, it's great because meditation, it helps you to know yourself. But I think the biggest, I guess, what could we call it? Like a myth is that meditation is going to help you fix everything, right? You're going to be relaxed, you're going to feel good, and it's going to be all rainbows and unicorns from now on. And no, no, you know, meditation is to really know yourself, to sit in the fire so you can see your patterns. Like, how often are you doing things that are connected to your values, right? To who you are as a person? Like, have you ever asked yourself, who am I when no one's watching? Who am I when no one is expecting anything from me? Like, it's really hard to answer that question, right? I still ponder on it every day, too. Like, what
It
did I
is.
do? He had no expectations. If I had no past, no guilt, no worries, no fear, anything, who am I? Who is Giovanna? So I don't know the answer to that question yet, Casey. But you know, when you sit in meditation with that, your body learns to relax. It learns to be in the present moment. And even if it's just for microseconds, you feel the state of ease so that your nervous system can remember what it's like to feel safe, what it's like to be at ease, even if it's for just microseconds. And your brain's so smart that it's going to remember that. Yeah. So it builds up over time so that then when life comes at you, when you're with your eyes open, you can handle things better. But until you don't learn how to regulate your nervous system so that it can feel safe, so it can relax and recover and really rest, because, you know, sleeping is not equivalent to having a good recovery and a good restful state, you know. But if you have quality sleep, if you learn how to meditate to really shut down your nervous system when it needs to, then that's when the beautiful things happen. Because, you know, some people are meditating now because, yes, they want to feel relaxed, they want to fix the world, they want to manifest money, you know, they want to heal from a disease. But really, it's about getting to know yourself and how you're going to respond to the circumstances around you.
This is really, really powerful. Tapping into your experience going through this journey. I know I want to talk about two things. I want to talk about the emotional part of learning to trust yourself, be safe with yourself, to actually sit through an entire meditation, because sometimes we start meditating and our minds are going everywhere, and
Yes.
then we don't prioritize it in our life. So we know when we do it, we feel better, but for some reason we don't keep doing it. And then the second part, for you leaving and going out there and saying, hey, I want to do something different, that comes at a financial burden. That comes at a financial, not just burden, but risk. Like your income. When you burn out, you don't work. When you don't work, now you're yes, you're not burning out, but now your finances are like talking to you and putting that pressure,
Yeah.
or ner- really messing up your nervous system. So I wanted to ask you just a twofold question. How did you get yourself to actually say, this is really a practice I'm going to do for the rest of my life? And then how did you reconcile the financial piece?
Oh, yes. So honestly, Casey, I think I did what most people do. I decided to take action and take care of myself when I was up against the wall, right? When I was with the diagnosis of the autoimmune disorder, the burnout, and having to really consider, am I going to take these medications that are going to affect me for the rest of my life, where I'm going to lose my vision? I don't know if I'm going to be able to keep working full time. That's when I decided to take action. And I wish I hadn't, I wish I had the tools and the knowledge and how to actually do it before, which is why I wrote the book, right? Because it's like so many of us, we wait until the last minute. We take action out of fear, out of pain instead of joy and ease. And that was what inspired me, because I don't want anyone else to go through this and have to reinvent the wheel. And another reality is, Casey, you cannot be abundant if you're in burnout. You simply can't.
Ooh,
You know?
ooh, say that again.
Cannot be abundant if you're in burnout. And I met so many people that are rich, millionaires and stuff, and they have the worst life ever. They still have the fears, the insecurities, the guilt and all those things. And it's so true. Feeling um being recovered or preventing burnout is so crucial for our health, for our finances, for our relationships in so many ways. But when I made that decision, Casey, I was still trying to hold on to my full-time job. I was doing the meditations, I was doing the organic meals, and I was doing all this stuff. It was a lot at the beginning, and I was feeling horrible on a day-to-day basis. But it was just like this inner voice in me. I cannot even explain it, Casey. It's like I remember something saying deep inside of me, this is not you, this is not your life. And I said, you know what? F it. I've always been a rebel. When you tell me I can't do something, I'm going to go in harder. So that's when I feel like, I'm not going to go down the road of medications and feeling awful every day. So that's why I jumped in so straight into meditation. And I'll tell you, Casey, I think I'm learning at 47 that I think I'm maybe neurodivergent or something. I don't want to put labels, but I look back and it actually took me 3 years, 3 full years, Casey, to be able to sit with myself for more than 15 minutes and, quiet the mind, quiet the body to be able to fully meditate. So it's a process. Some people do it right away. Like my husband, when he got into it, within 1 week, he was like, oh, just 1 hour meditating and having these beautiful insights and beautiful mystical experiences. And I was like, are you serious? It took me 3 years. But it was, I think, that nurse brain and that monkey brain that was taking over. But I think the biggest thing that people need to understand when they're starting to meditate or they want to evolve into their practice, because now I can meditate for 4 or 5 hours nonstop, time just flies, is you have to learn how to sit with yourself. The thoughts that come in, they're going to come in. Just see them as a cloud, as a feather, and, just let them pass. The emotions, the sensations, because that's just your body giving you feedback. That's your body giving you data. So don't fight your physiology. Sit with it and really understand it. And I cannot tell you how wonderful, how magical that thing is. And for the people that are asking about the finances, you're like, well, yeah, but I have to work. Well, yeah, but okay, yeah, okay. But if you're not healthy, how much longer are you going to keep pushing through? Do you want to keep living the life that you're not happy and that you're not proud about, or do you want to do something else? And when I first heard, the less you hustle, the less you push through. And this is so important for people, nurses, that are doing full-time jobs, that are doing travel nursing, that have side hustles or starting a new business. It's like the less that you do of the forcing, the struggling, the better it's going to be. When you work with intention, with coherence, with your energy, learning how to work with your energy and the energy around your world, beautiful things happen. So, it wasn't overnight, Casey, but, right now I am in a beautiful place where I only work like 3 hours a week. I mean, not 3 hours a week, 3 hours a day, right? And I have this beautiful virtual assistant who's helping me with everything else because it was just too much with me. But, the clients keep coming in, the book is doing so well, a second book is coming out, I have so many speaking gigs and stuff. So yes, I am living the dream, but people have to notice it's not going to be overnight. It took me since 2017, so almost 10 years, 9 years, right, to really be at this state where I'm like, I made it, I freaking made it, but you have to keep pushing through. And I think that's the biggest decision. Like, for how much longer do you want to keep living a life that is not yours, that doesn't belong to you? It's what society gave you.
Yes, and you were committed, and you yourself were a testament because you have relaxed your nervous system to the point that you are in alignment. We actually met at a really amazing speaking event and we worked together, but you've had so many more come your way. You have so many more coming up. So when your nervous system is calm, your abundance can really come in. Now, your one of the ways that you're abundant is that you work with a renowned author, Ken Honda. Love his work. Actually, one of my therapists introduced me to his work, his book, Happy Money. Would you mind sharing a little bit about him and how you got connected to him?
So it's what just one of those things, that the universe brings to you. I wasn't even looking for him. I was, busy, being the team leader for the research team, and learning, how to be a good leader for others. And someone out of the blue said, "Hey, there's this course by Ken Honda in Mind Valley." And I'm like, "Who is he?" He's like, "Oh, he's just this guy that talks about money, how to manifest money." I was just like, "Oh, this manifesting trend, is I think it's people take so much advantage of people's needs like that I was kind of worried, but I was like, no, I'm going to listen to him. And, the minute I heard his voice, I felt his energy, and I'm like, oh, this guy's the real deal. It was just so beautiful, So I did the course. It really helped me understand my relationship with money. And that's another important thing, Casey. Like, stress shows up in so many ways before you even say a word. When you walk into a room, people can tell what is your current state, because stress affects your relationships. It affects how you talk, how you think, how you show up as a leader, how you show up as an employer, as a mom, wife, anything, right? And it shows up in your money as well. So that's why I was saying you cannot be abundant if you're in burnout. So once you understand your relationship with money, you can see that those stress patterns are showing up in your finances as well. So he was doing a contest where he wanted people to write an essay, and he said that the people that he chose as the winners would have time to sit with him for 15 minutes on a one-on-one thing. So I wrote an essay. I said, I'm going to do it. I'm going to write an essay to him as to how his work, his book, his courses had changed my life. And lo and behold, I won the first prize on the essay. I was like, oh my God, because he was really touched by the way I was writing. And then his assistant said, was so impressed that he's not going to give you 15 minutes. He's going to give you 30 minutes. Now, to give people perspective, he's best-selling author in Japan. I think he's even more famous than the president over there. And for you to sit with him for 15 minutes is like $5,000. So 30 minutes, we were talking a $10,000, one-on-one, and I got it for free. I'm like, oh my God, and he is such a beautiful person because he shares the financial wisdom. Like, he says, is your money smiling at you? And you're like, what is he talking about? Like, when you give money and when you receive money, are you actually grateful? Are you happy? Are you trusting that it's going to keep coming and leaving? And I was not. I was in such a scarcity mindset, right? So when he had the one-on-one with me, he's very spiritual. He can read your energy and your aura and stuff like that. And he said, you have a really beautiful journey ahead of you, and you're going to go places. But you have to trust yourself. You have to move out of the shadow of people that have been holding you back. And he's one of the ones that encouraged me to write the book, because I'm not a writer. I was not doing anything. Like, look at the essay. He's like, look at the essay where it got you. So trust yourself, believe in yourself. And he said, you're not just going to write one book. There's going to be 2, 3, or 4, and you're going to be someday, pretty soon. He even said within 5 years, I think you're going to be, at the level that I am and that Dr. Joe Dispenza is. And I'm like, what? You're crazy. There's no possible way. But, I took the plunge, I wrote the book, and, so many beautiful doors have opened. But I think that his biggest takeaway is, for you to have a truly wealthy life,
Yes.
it's not just about the money. It's like, is your life fulfilled? Are you working with your heart values? Are you having quality time with yourself, with your family? How are you showing up for work? Are you the leader that you want to be, or are you just putting out fires, to keep up with what corporate is telling you? And as a nurse, are you really having this fulfilled life of, yes, you wanted to help people be better, but are you doing that, or are you just also putting out the fires on a day-to-day basis? So when you connect with that, and I think Ken Honda is a great person for you if you want to improve your finances, when you understand, but I'm working so hard, why is it that I can't have the money that I want? There might be some subconscious, some limiting beliefs in there, and he can help you discover that. And that's why, in my book, I mentioned him, I mentioned Dr. Joe, I mentioned Heart Mind. I threw all the stuff that I've experienced in that book because I really wanted people to, to thrive. We do so much. It's time for us to receive way more than we give.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I listen to you talk, and I know you also do coaching, Giovanna. And someone might be listening to you and say, wow, I would love to coach with her. She gets it, or she walked down my path, or she's on my track. how would they reach out to you? How would you coach with them? What is the next step from this conversation?
Oh my gosh. So there's many ways. I mean, honestly, I would say, if you want to get to know me better, definitely check out my book. You can check out my website to see all the services because I wear many hats. And it's just like, even people ask me, you need to have an elevator pitch. I'm like, well, all I could tell you, Casey, is we cannot control our outer environment, but we can control how we're going to choose to respond to that. Now, being a nurse, I think it's so important to work with other nurses because not everybody gets what we do. Not
Mhm.
everybody gets that, and there's so many wonderful doctors there out there, but I think it takes one to know one.
Oh,
And my passion is not just providing like a regular life coaching session or wellness session. It's like, no, we're going to get down to the root cause. We're going to regulate your nervous system. We're going to get in touch with your emotions and how you can learn how to respond to them instead of being reactive. Yeah. And then if you want to open that door, I'm a Reiki master. I love Reiki energy. We can tap into, any other kind of energy that you might need to process at that time. So my coaching sessions are very, let's call them holistic, so that you can really understand what are those patterns that I'm not aware of. What is
mhm,
my current connection to my mind and my body? And even if you have health issues, Casey, if it's like if people are bracing, if they're in this constant stress,
mhm.
they will wonder, why can't I lose weight? Or if
Right.
you're a woman, why are my hormones out of whack? Why can't I sleep well? Well, hello, it's because your body forgot how to feel safe. It forgot how to relax. So, when you have tools that you can use on a daily basis to really help your nervous system, your parasympathetic nervous system take over, then wonderful things happen to you. And it's going to translate, like I said, to your health, to your finances, to your work, to maybe working on a project that you've been holding back,
Right.
manifesting the partner that you want because you're coming again from this place of ease and joy, not out of fear, not out of pain. So my coaching sessions are very, very, I would say, interactive, very fun. It's like a Pandora's box. It's full of surprises because it depends on what you're telling me, but I'm
Mm.
also going to listen to your heart. I'm going to listen to
Yes.
deep down what your energy, what your soul is crying out for. Yeah.
Yes, because so many times we're talking from the head, but our heart is screaming a whole different story. Giovanna, this has been so delicious, and I don't mean to be greedy, but I wanted to know, and we have 3 minutes left. If you were speaking to a nurse or a healthcare provider, and they are at the point where they are at their wits' end, they're really burnt out, what is one quick 1 minute or 2 minute exercise, meditation, breathing, that you will pull them into? Do you mind
Oh,
sharing it with us?
let's do it together, Casey. How about if we show them? All right. So let's do a very simple exercise. And I want you first, to all the people hearing out there, to understand there's nothing wrong with you. You're not weak. You're not broken. It's the system. You are overloaded by the system you have been bracing for so long to put up with unrealistic expectations and trying to control an outcome that you can't possibly control. Like I said, you can't control the patient's outcome. You can't control the outcome of what your boss is going to do, what's going to happen to you day to day. So stop trying to predict, stop trying to control the future, and really trust, the day to day, the here and now. To really trust, like maybe everything is not going well in my life, but right now, for 5 seconds, I choose to be okay with myself. So let's try it. So to give everybody a taste of what most of us are going on a day to day basis, Casey, let's just lift our shoulders up. Let's lift them up and then try to clench your jaw. Even if the double chin comes up, who cares? Right? How does that feel, Casey? Tell me.
Mm. It actually feels normal. I think we do that all the time and not knowing because
But
it
I
feels
would even
normal.
dare to say, are you really having deep, nice breaths or is it more superficial? No,
Very
right?
shallow, very shallow.
Now let's drop them. Oh, let's try to move a little and take a big exhale. Oh, that's the difference, right?
That feels good.
That's the difference of how many of us are going on a day-to-day basis. Now, it might not be that, noticeable. It might be more subtle, but that's what we're doing. So let's practice now what being at ease might be. Before you answer that phone call, before you send that email, before you snap at someone else, then just take a nice deep breath in and out. Now, the key to this case is Whatever time you take to inhale, let's say it's 4 seconds, make sure it's the same time out, 4 seconds. Then as you keep going in that pace, I want you to imagine that you're actually breathing from your heart and your chest, not from your nose. You can place your hand here if it helps. A nice, deep, relaxing breaths. Feel your heart expand. Feel your chest expand. You can do this with your eyes open or closed, it doesn't matter. And now I want you to bring up an emotion. It can be love, gratitude, or care for someone or something in your life. It can even be a memory, or your pet, or a loved one. Really feel it. So if you're just starting your morning, this is the best way to do it before you get out of bed, before you reach for your phone. It takes 30 seconds. Now, next time you're feeling overwhelmed, you're afraid or worried, then you can go into a state of ease. Hold on to that sensation. And you can say, in this moment, I am okay.
In this moment, I am okay.
Everything's all right.
Everything's all right.
I choose love or ease or presence, grace, whatever feels called to you. And just let all that lovely sensations go all over your body. And if you want to take it a step further, radiate that to the four walls you're in right now, to the whole room. And you can tell yourself, in this moment, there's nothing for me to do. There's nothing for me to fix. There's nothing for me to be. Let all that weight that you've been carrying go. And then when you're ready, you can take a nice deep last inhale. And then exhale out loud. Just that's
Oh
it.
my, that feels
Yeah,
amazing.
I'm getting goosebumps. And now the beautiful thing, Casey, is people, you can do this in 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 30 seconds. I did it longer because I wanted you to have a taste. But like I said, do this before you get in your car, before you write the email, the text, before you go to work. If you can't sleep at night, do this. You know, it's so beautiful. Just slowing down your breathing is going to activate what? Your vagal nerve. Your vagal nerve is connected to your parasympathetic nervous system. And nature is so wise. Your body's so wise. It knows what to do. Just get out of the way. Just let it do what it needs to do.
Thank you for showing us the
Yeah.
how to get out of the way, how to do it. This was wonderful. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you for leading us through this meditation, sharing some of your insight, your knowledge, and your connections. This was beautiful, beautiful. Now, audience, I asked Giovanna all of my questions and then some. What questions do you have? What would you like to know? What would you like to find out more? Do you want to know how to access her book? You can meet her. She's on LinkedIn. A connection to her book is right there on her LinkedIn. You don't even need to be connected to click on her book. It's called Burn Out, Burn Bright, Not Out. It's your book also on Amazon.
It's on Amazon and Barnes and Nobles. Yes.
It's on Barnes and Noble. I am so proud of you, Giovanna. As a nurse, you have really stepped out away from the bedside and you are shining your light so brilliantly in the world. Thank you for being here. I hope to have you back again, and I will let you go and let our audience go. We will see you next time on Meet the Experts. Thank you so much.